So welcome to my final segment on how to be a better bow hunter. Not necessarily a better archer, but how can I improve? What steps can I take to improve my ability to be a bow hunter, to be lethal with a bow and arrow, hunting deer and turkeys and hogs. And I live here in Florida. That's our main target species. If I see a hog, I'm happy to shoot it. I've never turkey hunted with my bow. I imagine it's pretty hard, so I'm pretty much hunting deer and hogs with my bow and arrow. And what I've learned is that you gain experience through experience, and that experience, that up and close personal time when crunch time comes, are far and few between. So I wanted to develop a system that taught me how to be a better bow hunter down through my practice in the summertime. What could I do? And I've come up with some thought processes that have helped me, and I'll pass them on to you. Number one, I always use a 3D target. I'll show you my 3D target. I use a 3D target for this one philosophy, that it will be training my mind and my eye for what I'll see when crunch time comes. Shooting at a block target with a bullseye is fine, but if I can aim at the kill zone and know where that kill zone is, and then if I can turn that target different angles, I can learn where the point of aim should be. So I always shoot at a 3D target. It's part of my practical process. And then training my mind, having the target directly underneath your stand is probably more practical. How many times has a deer walked right underneath your stand? It's probably more a practical shot. I mean, I know you might be standing in your backyard shooting your bow, trying to use perfect form, trying to use perfect technique, trying to get that release off perfectly. But when that 8-point buck is directly underneath your stand, right, and you've got to twist and turn to make that shot, well, I think all that other stuff kind of is a waste of time, isn't it? I think it is. But anyway, yeah, I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater either. I also practice good archery techniques, and the next step is to refine our shooting process, to remember to follow through. That was last week's message, to follow through with your arrow. In other words, when you release your arrow, don't look for the results of the shot before the shot is complete. Follow through, be the arrow, follow your arrow to the target, and follow through with your shot. And shooting from your tree stand, like I'm doing here. And tonight I'm going to be shooting broadheads. I've been shooting field points, but tonight I'm going to shoot broadheads. It's crunch time fixing to come. We're going to be going bow hunting probably about a week from today. So I want to be prepared. I want to be legged up. I'm in my stand. I've got my harness on. I've been exercising, working out. I'm getting accustomed to the heat because it's going to be hot. Yellow flies, mosquitoes. It's time to prepare. So I'll move the GoPro here. I'm going to show you my arrow setup real quick. You know about my bow. I shoot same bow you do, one that you can buy in the store, right? This one's is a Helium 60-pound Matthews bow, and I've got it fitted with adjustable sights and yeah, rest just like everybody else. There's really nothing special about my setup, but I do feel like there's something special about my arrow setup. My arrow setup, especially with the broadheads. Now I do not use mechanical broadheads. I use cut-on contact broadheads. These are Woodsman broadheads. Razor sharp, 3 blades, steel, welded steel product. And let me put these arrows down here. I don't drop them. And I shoot a 250 spine Hunter gold tip arrow. It's really stiff. It shoots like a dart. I have a 125 grain brass insert in the end of my arrow, then the 125 grain field point razor sharp. That's my setup, okay? I have what's called a high FOC setup. What's that mean? That means that the weight is heavy on the front. This causes the arrow to fly better, in my opinion. It works for me. Do what works for you. But if you were to ask me, what's my arrow setup? Well, this is it. This is accurate. This passes through. This setup is what gives me the confidence that I need when I come to full draw. The only practice I need to do is to practice shooting with the broadhead. I got the block target set up. I won't be shooting my broadhead at my 3D target because it tears it up too much, right? But I'm going to shoot it at my block target, and I can resharpen with just a few strikes on the stone this broadhead, and it's razor sharp, man. I really like it. But yeah, that's my setup. I got a little hunting story I want to share with you right after I make this shot. I'm gonna shoot one shot from my tree stand with my broadhead, with my safety harness on, at a block target. I don't know, it's 25 yards. I've got my dial set. We're gonna talk about rangefinders one of these days. I got a rangefinder that I use, but I often find it a challenge to feel like I'm able to actually use it while I'm hunting, especially when I see something coming in, because the animal keeps getting closer and closer. It's moving far away. The moment is fluid, and you have to be able to be willing to make that judgment call when coming to full draw and what your point of aim is going to be. I keep my sight set at 20 yards, and then it goes from 20 to 25 to 30, then to 35 yards. And everything under 20 yards, if he's close, it doesn't make any difference on my setup. I can aim, dead on, and I'll be good. But yeah, my block target, I don't have it ranged. It's probably between 25 and 30 yards. So nice and slow, not too jerky. Come to full draw, settle in behind the peat, and boom. Yeah, it had a little glide to it, but not enough to worry with. Yeah, that thing shoots great. Yellow flies are terrible. Okay, so the hunting story for today is I took my stepson, I don't know, it was about 30 years ago. I took my stepson hunting with me, and I was hunting private land at the time, down near the green swamp, adjacent to some citrus that was there. And he asked me, he says, well, where are all the deer? And we didn't see any deer on that hunt. And he was under the impression that if we went deer hunting, that would just be naturally that we'd see deer. That he didn't have any kind of notion that he wouldn't see deer. And yeah, sometimes you just don't see any deer. And of course, he's not a hunter. And he'll never be a hunter because, yeah, he's not wired that way. He's wired to do other things. Now, I was hunting on some private land, and the question was a fair question. Where are the deer? And you'll ask yourself that question. You'll see a rub, and the first question you'll ask yourself is, where is that deer? He's not here. And that always set a negative tone to my thought process. Same with rubs, scrapes. If I see sign, I want to know where the deer are. They're certainly not there. And I've been trying to train myself to think a little differently, that if I happen to come upon a fresh scrape or a fresh rub, that the opportunity for a good hunt is with that discovery. And if I have gotten in there without disturbing the deer, that means I can set up there and possibly make possibly make a successful hunt due to the fact that I've been able to sneak in on him and he doesn't know I'm there. So I've been trying to change my thought process. When I find a sign, how do I perceive that? And yeah, I'm trying to change my thinking. But I was hunting on some private land, and I had hunted this same private land for many years. I hunted this private land for probably about 10 years. And I had watched a lot of that private land change down through the years, and areas to grow and areas to be flooded. Hurricane came through one year. I don't know, it was the third or fourth year I hunted it, and a lot of the big old oak trees that were in there had fallen over, and the root system from the tree had completely come up and left a big void in the ground. And here you had this gigantic oak tree, right? And yeah, it just fell and ruined some of the areas that I had to hunt. But as the years went by, I made the necessary adjustments. No big deal, right? Trees fall in the woods, that's just the way it is. But the root structure of that oak tree had become covered in vines. And I had looked at that process, and as the tree died and decomposed more and more every year, I remember when that tree was a live, living tree, right? Great big trunk and great big limbs, and squirrels and birds of all kinds making their home in it, right? Now it was falling on the ground and rotting. But at the ball of that root system that was now exposed, rain had washed all the dirt and mud off of those roots, and now those roots were exposed, and on top of those roots were vines so thick and so dense that you could not see through them. And I was sitting in my tree stand one day, and I was looking at the area there in front of me, and I hadn't seen any deer. And I thought to myself, I wonder where the deer are. And I looked over to that ball of vines, and a deer had appeared in front of that ball of vines, in front of that oak tree root system that was now covered in vines. And I looked at it, and it moved out a little ways in my way. I said, oh, look, there's a deer. And I just made note of where I saw it. And then I looked over there, and there was another deer. I said, look, yonder comes another one. I said, where's it coming from? And another one, and another one. Next thing I know, there were a half a dozen deer. All of them were bedded within the area underneath those vines in the void in the ground where that tree once stood and had fallen over. There was a bedding area inside that ball of vines. All those deer were in there, and all of them were does and yearlings. There wasn't a buck in the bunch. But they all came easing out of there. I don't know, it's about 11 o'clock in the morning, you know, the midday morning stretch. And they came out of there and moved all around and walked all around through there. And I didn't see them go back. They went someplace else. But I thought that was very interesting, that those deer were living and bedding inside that ball structure of that oak tree. That root structure of that oak tree is kind of cool. So, yeah, this is the crunch time. This is the time I spend in my backyard preparing, teaching myself how to become a better bow hunter, using the wind to my advantage, using the tree setup wherever I'm going to be shooting, watching my lanes. Yeah, there's so much to it. It's just hard to comprehend it all, and hard to reveal it all and share it all in one video. But I hope you'll go back and watch the other videos. I hope these videos help you. I know they help me. I'm preparing for what I might see and what I might experience. It's going to be epic, and I really looking forward to this hunting season. One thing I think I'm going to do this hunting season is I'm going to do a 2024, 2025 journal. I want to start documenting some of my hunts, writing them down, writing my thoughts, and yeah, so I can read them again someday in the future. All right, we love you guys. This is the Wild Treasures of an Outdoorsman YouTube channel. Like and subscribe if you want to. We're going hunting. I'll let you know how I do. Love you guys. See ya. Bye.